We're looking forward to today. We hope that you'll walk away with some tangible things that you can use in your classroom through our best practices session that we're doing today. And if nothing else, you've got a pair of socks. How much? Yeah, right? A couple of quick notes. In the folders that you got, as you open them on the left, the items that are on the left are going to be the items that are going to be talked about today by our speakers. And then the items that are on the right are the ones for the tables that were out front as you kind of walk through that. So as they're referring to documents, that's probably the quickest and easiest way to kind of work through that. So we have a very quick lineup that we have going for today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Joanne Hallowell, our Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm Joe Hallowell, I'm the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, so I want to say thank you and welcome to all of you. Our adjuncts are very, very important to us and to our students, so I want you to know how much we do thank you and appreciate you for all that you do. Do we have any new adjuncts with us today? Okay, a few new faces, so great. What's your discipline? Nursing? Nursing? Medical assistant. Okay, so welcome to you. I'm going to go through, like James said, just a few items on the left side of your folder that you received today. And I just want to kind of reiterate the importance of that first class session with students. We have found that that first class session really sets the tone and sets the expectations for students, as well as how you interact with students during that first class session also helps them feel comfortable, helps them feel engaged, helps them feel important, and that leads to them being successful. So I hope that you will be very welcoming in your class. I've seen some professors, the first day of class, they're standing outside the door as students come in and welcoming them, or you're standing at, you're not sitting down doing those last minute things, you're engaged, making that eye contact with students as they come in the door, maybe talking to them a little bit. So I encourage you to do that. And I'm sure you have, in your toolbox some different ideas and activities that you do during that first class session to kind of break the ice and help begin to build those relationships. So items in your folder. And I know you're eating, so don't feel compelled to pull out all the papers. One of the first items in there is the incident reporting, and I can talk about all of these, so she's fine. That's fine. Sorry. Let me close. Okay, so I started with that. Okay. So the faculty checklist item that you have. Okay, about the fourth to the last page in your documents. Julia, I don't know if she's in the room, she's out front. She actually prepared this semester for our faculty, and it's intended to help you as you continue to prepare for your classes and prepare that course syllabus. It's kind of that checklist for you to make sure that you've included everything that you need to include. So make sure that you have, when you open a course, it has that blank syllabus in it, and there's information that you must fill out in that syllabus. And then that information obviously includes your name and your contact information, but then there's also some dates that you need to fill out in there. So we have some documents in your packet that help you know which dates to put in that syllabus. We want to make sure that you have set your course shells up. Even if you're teaching a face-to-face course or an online course, it's really important to have your course shell set up. And by setting that up, I think it's really good to have a welcoming message in there. Okay? So have a welcoming message to your students, and ideally, you're changing that message every week. Kind of just, what I used to do is I would just give a summary of last week's class and then kind of give a heads up of what to anticipate for that next class session. But seeing that message change each week keeps your students engaged, keeps them coming back to that message, and that's where you can send a really important message to your students. Make sure in your course syllabus and in your course shell that your grading scale and grading expectations are very clear. Sometimes we've seen where some The course syllabus explains grades one way, but then when you look in the grade book and the course shell, it's something quite different. So if you say quiz 1 is worth 20 points in the syllabus, quiz 1 should be worth 20 points in the grade book. So make sure you have that alignment. You know, as we revise our courses each semester a little bit, we tweak things and change things, and we kind of forget to go back and forth maybe in some places. So make sure that that everything aligns properly, and make sure the information in your course from the information in your course syllabus that students can figure out their grades. Okay. That's one of the #1 areas where students come to the program chair or to me saying, I can't figure out my grade. Okay. So make sure it's very clear. And make sure you keep your grading correct. As you know, we've transitioned to a lot of 8-week course sections this year. So the pace will be much quicker, and that means students need feedback much quicker. Typically, feedback should go back to students within a week. I prefer 36 hours, but that's me. But in the 8-week format, you're teaching fewer courses probably per semester, which means you're engaging with a lower number of students each 8 weeks. So hopefully then you can maintain a good turnaround on assignments for students, because it's really important for them to get thorough feedback and for them to get timely feedback in order for them to progress. So any questions on that? Also in your book or folder, you have some information about open labs, and these are for students. This is actually for this week. But if any students have reached out to you, in particular if you're teaching math or science, and if anybody has reached out to you saying, I'm a little hesitant or a little concerned about what this course might be like, we do have some open labs this week for students and encourage them to take advantage of that. Oh, I'm sorry, adjuncts can go to that too. Yes, sir.
This is a general schedule, but what about specific subject like biology, math, or because this open lab is about, because we had open lab for example, anatomy and physiology, and there was specific open labs for anatomy and physiology. What's the difference? What's this type of?
So this is more for helping, this is more for the instructors to help you set up your classes. Is there information about for students, the open labs that we're having? No, okay, sorry. I was thinking there was a piece in there about the open labs that we're having for students. So this is for instructors. So if you still need some assistance on helping to set up your courses, your course shells for the semester, this is more that technology help for you guys.
Oh, so we go to the computer room and then we have somebody.
Yes, yeah, there will be people in there to help you.
I thought it was about people with students.
Yeah. So this is not content or discipline specific, it's more the technology. Yeah.
We will have for the first week of class a Tech Lab Central right out here in the Commons, that if you have students who have issues with IV Learn, how to find things in that, and with their email, they can come there. It'll be staffed by Dylan, Julia, and faculty members. Dylan's in the back. So if you have a student who is having issues with that, please direct them up here next week, and we'll be able to help them with that.
And then throughout the semester, encourage your students to take advantage of the many academic support systems that we have. You know, we have the ARC, which is the Academic Resource Center over in the library. We have what we call open labs, where instructors sit out here in the commons area, and that's typically our math and our English instructors will sit out here. Once the semester gets started, we'll have hours posted of when they'll be there, because it's contingent on our faculty's schedules, and so it changes each semester. And then we also have tutor.com, which is an online service, tutoring, which covers many different disciplines. And through tutor.com, students can get live interaction with a tutor, or they can submit papers through that system and get written feedback as well. So those are some of the academic resources that we have for students that can help them tremendously, help them be successful in their courses. So any questions or anything that I can help you with? Judith?
I found in the settings, whenever we set up our classes, that we do not put that tutor up to the top, that the students can't go into it.
There is just to embellish on what Judith is talking about, there is a way that on the links on the side that tutor.com is one of the invisible links, so you have to go down into settings to activate it, so it actually becomes one of the active links. And you can put it down towards the bottom, but it is, yeah, we would encourage you to put tutor.com on as one of your active links.
So the courses are loaded with the inactive, and we may need to see if we can get that changed on that and have it live. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that, thank you. Any other questions?
Another thing, for technology help, I used to teach at the university in Minneapolis. So when we had the virus problem, or technology conflict, they had a service to help interact and fix the conflict. But here I don't see the salaries on teaching there. They don't ask them to help, then they say you don't have the service, therefore I have to go out and pay for that account because I'm really done for here. But I'm taking over school. Then are those things that are you going to be service in the future or?
Well, typically, our IT folks will help with our technology and our programming and systems, but they won't help with your personal computers and your personal
Because we use
technology.
computers for our courses, online courses. And then what I'm saying, you apply the usual computer because they use your for the university. And here, I don't know if it's possible to only establish this kind of service because it's new for our fourth year, our first 5 years. And one thing I thought during my online teaching, I thought when I had my train macro, then I contact somebody who touches on future. So it's not about my job, what's here. So I wonder if future is possible.
Well, I'll check into that, but as faculty members, you're welcome to also come into our labs and computers when they're open and use our computers on site here. I know if you're teaching online, that's not as convenient for you, but yeah. Any other questions? Okay, well, I will stay around. Oh, I'm sorry, Judith?
Yeah, one more, I'm sorry.
Sure, that's fine.
I know there's a policy that we are supposed to respond back to our students even though it's face-to-face within a certain time period. Do we have your permission to maybe put up in our syllabus that we will not respond on Sundays and that we will respond on Monday morning, or no?
Well, policy is you are supposed to respond to students within 36 hours. So if you have last responded to students by Saturday evening, technically then you don't have to respond again until Monday. However, I would encourage you that if your students have a deadline on Sunday, that you be accessible. But in online classes, you can change those deadlines. If you're teaching what we call a statewide online course, and I think the materials typically come loaded with a suggestion that Sunday, typically midnight Sunday or 11:59 on Sunday is the deadline. You can change that to Monday or to Tuesday, whatever day. But I would recommend you keep a consistent deadline, not have 1 week it's Tuesday, but you can change that. So if you do not want to be online on a Sunday evening, that you can change that deadline. Yeah. Yes.
Jill, I got an email from Tamara about some Title IX information that needed to be.
Yes, and I think that's going to come to them via email, that Title IX language for the syllabus.
Yeah, she sent it. Where exactly in the syllabus do you want that?
In the future, it's going to already be embedded, but that just came to us a little later this semester. So put it somewhere in there where it's logical. I mean, we're probably, maybe after disability services, probably in there would be a good place for it. So what he's talking about, and James, later today or maybe tomorrow, you're going to receive an email with some other attachments. And that Title IX language is one of those things that you need to put in your course syllabus. I think it's 3 paragraphs, not too much. But in the future, that should already be embedded in your syllabus. Good question, thank you.
All right, so for the Title IX, this basically covers any kind of incident reporting, that if they come to you about any sort of sexual harassment, abuse, or anything of that nature, if they discuss it with you you are obligated by law to report it, which means you need to do a Maxian report. Sorry, now I'm stealing a little bit of your thunder with that. So make sure that you fill that out. What I am suggesting is you go over this the first day of class, especially for those of you in face-to-face. Make them aware so that they can then figure out whether or not they want to share that with you, because it isn't an option for you. You have to report it. So once it comes to your ears or to your eyes, if it's an online class, you have to report it. And you'll fill out the Maxian report. Dr. Baker then will be in touch with the student, asking them if there's any assistance that can be provided or anything like that. So if they bring up anything like, I was raped once, or this happened to me somewhere, you got to report it. There is not a gray area there. Okay? So something the first day of class is to talk to them about that, is to understand, hey, this is out here. If you bring this to me, you mention it in class, you bring it in a paper, you write it in a discussion board, I have an obligation to report it. So just so you know that it's out there. And for most disciplines, I think it doesn't really crisscross, but sometimes we get to know our students really well, and they feel very comfortable with us, and they want to share. That's great. We want to have that relationship. Just understand what this is going to mean. Yeah, we'll just say.
We'll just go right in.
Say right in.
Yeah, so you do have a duty to